And lots of trees are evolved to withstand forest fires of a certain intensity, and some won't even release their seeds unless there's been a fire. And so a little bit of fire at the right time can stop everything from burning to the ground. And that's also a really useful insight, a metaphorical insight into the nature of sacrifice, right? It's also a lot easier to let go of something when you're deciding to let go of it, because you've decided yourself that you're done with that. It's a weak part of you. It needs to disappear. You do that yourself, it's much better and much easier than it is if it's taken away from you forcibly, in which case you're very much likely to fight it. You know, a lot of what people regard as their own personalities and are proud of about their own personalities aren't their own personalities at all. They're useless idiosyncrasies that differentiate them trivially from other people. They have no value in and of themselves. They're more like quirks. I remember once I was trying to teach a particularly stubborn student about how to write, and she had written a number of essays in university and got universally walloped for them. And the reason for that was she couldn't write really at all. She was really, really bad at writing. And so I was sitting down with her trying to explain to her what she was doing wrong, and she was being very annoying about it, very recalcitrant, very, very unwilling to listen. That was a pearls before swine thing, you know. And at one point she said, I can write perfectly well. This university professors just don't like my style. And I thought, what the hell's with you? You can't even write and you think you have a style. Instead of humbling herself, she was proud of her insufficiency. That's arrogance, right? That's not humility. It's self-deception and arrogance. To be proud of your insufficiency, that's a very foolish thing. And that means to cling to the parts of you that are dead. You know, as you elevate your aim, you create a judge at the same time, right? Because the new ideal, which is an ideal you, even if it's just an ideal position that you might occupy, even if it's still conceptualized in that concrete way, that becomes a judge. Because it's above you, right? And then you're terrified of it, maybe. That's why you might be afraid when you go start a new job, right? This thing is above you and you're terrified of it, and it judges you. And that's useful because the judge that you're creating by formulating the ideal tells you what's useless about yourself, and then you can dispense with it. And you want to keep doing that, and then every time you make a judge that's more elevated, then there's more useless you that has to be dispensed with. And then if you create an ultimate judge, which is what the archetypal imagination of humankind has done, say, with the figure of Christ, because if Christ is nothing else, he is at least the archetypal perfect man and therefore the judge. You have a judge that says, get rid of everything about yourself that isn't perfect. And of course, that's also what God tells Abraham, right? He says to be perfect, to pick an ideal that's high enough, and you can do this. The thing that's interesting about this, I think, is you can do it more or less on your own terms. You have to have some collaboration from other people, but you don't have to pick an external ideal. You can pick an ideal that fulfills the role of ideal for you. You can say, okay, well, if things could be set up for me the way I need them to be, and if I could be who I needed to be, what would that look like? And you can figure that out for yourself, and then instantly you have a judge. And I also think that's part of the reason people don't do it.
My teacher don't like you. Why? Why she don't like you? Maybe you talk too much. Maybe you disrespectful. Why don't say she don't like you? Go look in the mirror and take full ownership. Why does she not like me? I'll never forget, I said, God, I want to be one of the best at what I do. I want to change lives. And I got a call from Les Brown. And I flew to go meet Les Brown. He said, E.T., you should be making at least $50,000 internationally and $100,000 internationally. I was like, what? He was like, yeah, kid, you good. So I went home. I was like, God, why ain't you making $50,000? He said, because we watching the World Series. Because you watching the NBA Finals. Because you watching football and you watching 3 games. You watching the 1 o'clock game, the 4:30 game, the 8 p.m. game, and then you watch ESPN to rewatch everything you watch. That's why you ain't successful. You're watching LeBron make his dreams become a reality. You're watching the Black Mamba make his dreams become reality. If you put the same time LeBron put in, and I started studying, and I realized as an African-American male, I need to get a master's degree and a PhD in order to do what I'm doing. And guess what? I had to get up even though it was hard, and I had to take ownership of my life, take ownership of my time, take ownership of my day. You got a phone and you're not learning the second language, that's your fault. You got a phone and you don't know how to do calculus, that's your fault. You got a cell phone, a smartphone, you can go on the internet, and all you're doing is being social on it, while Zuckerberg is making billions of dollars on it. Showtime. Listen to me, one more thing, but I'll leave you with this. It's time to take ownership.
They will ruin more of your life if you allow them to invade your mind like a virus, which will only affect the quality of your life in every other area. The best revenge is always moving on, letting go, showing your ego is brave enough to let go, showing you are strong enough to enjoy your life, to live your life fully, regardless of what happens or who isn't doing the right thing by you. Let them have their accidents somewhere else. Life hasn't gone as planned. It doesn't for anyone. Move on. Focus on the good. Those who live amazing lives haven't gotten lucky. When things don't work out, they move on quickly and focus on the next positive. They drop the negative like a hot potato and focus on what they can do today to get in a better state. They don't seek sympathy from family and friends. They focus on what is good in their life and let go of the negatives. Don't cheat on your future with your past. It's over. Commit to your future and it will be a strong, healthy one. If you don't let go of your past, your future will suffer. Understand this very important fact. You are the one who suffers most when you hold on to resentments, when you seek revenge. You are the one who wins when you do let go. Richard Carson once said, "The key to a good life is this. If you're not going to talk about something during the last hour of your life, don't make it a top priority during your lifetime." Maybe we should all take that advice. Your ego will tell you, once everything is perfect, then I'll be happy. But your soul knows the truth. Be happy, then everything is perfect. No, life circumstances won't be perfect. But if you can get into the right space, you can then get to the understanding that everything happens for a reason and be at peace with that. So be happy. Do whatever it takes to find your happy. Not because everything is good, but because you see the good in everything. Not because every circumstance is a miracle, but because you see the miracle in life itself. Albert Einstein once said, "There's only two ways to live your life. One is as though nothing is a miracle, and the other is as though everything is." I know which space I want to live in. What about you?
Forgiveness is giving up the hope that the past could be any different.
I think for myself, and I know many of you, you think forgiving means accepting what has happened to you. Well, it is accepting that it has happened to you, not accepting that it was okay for it to happen. It is accepting that it has happened, and now what do I do about it? Forgiving is giving up the hope, not holding on, hoping, wishing that it could have been any other way than it actually was. Giving up the hope that the past could be any different. And when I got that, I think it took me to the next level of being a better person, because I don't hold grudges for anything or any situation, and neither should you. It's letting go so that the past does not hold you prisoner, does not hold you hostage.
Yes, that's the story of two monks on a pilgrimage, and they come across, in a village, they come across a young 17-year-old girl with a long kimono trying to cross a very muddy road, but she's not daring to step into the mud. So one monk picks her up, carries her across the road through the mud, puts her down, and so the monks walk on in silence for another 4 or 5 hours, just practicing noble silence. And then after 4 or 5 hours, they're getting close to their destination. One monk says to the monk who had picked up the girl, "Oh, you know, you shouldn't have done that, because we monks are not supposed even to touch women. So you shouldn't have picked up that girl. You're not supposed to do that." And the other monk says, "Oh, are you still carrying that girl? I put her down hours ago." So The other monk was still carrying the girl, the event, in his head.
4 hours later.
For 4 hours he was walking with this burden.
Yes, right.
And that shows the reluctance of the human mind to let go of the past.